What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over the important NPCs in Fortnite Chapter 6 Season 2. As always, if you guys do find this video to be helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below which NPC you think is best this season. So before we get into it, I'm just going to say that this season doesn't actually have as many useful NPCs as most previous seasons. There are currently no NPCs on the map that sell shockwaves or any other mobility items for that matter. And the way mobility is this season, a lot of people are using shocks again. And since shockwaves are consumable, people need them more often. And so having an NPC that sold them would be a big deal to a lot of players. But there are currently no NPCs that sell shocks. And then there are NPCs that sell decent-ish, like okay-ish weapons, or typically around blue rarity. In the past, this would be okay. But now we have the black market in Season 2, and these black market locations around the map have much higher rarity options. So if I was concerned about being able to purchase a high rarity shotgun or AR, I would just end up going to the black market rather than some NPC. The best NPC this season, in my opinion, is going to be the Night Rose NPC, and she is at Demon's Dojo. She is a supply specialist this season, and she will periodically drop you ammo and then things like shockwaves or bunkers if that's what you're holding out when it's time for her to resupply you. But I have also had her drop me shockwaves this season, even when I already had none in my inventory. And most of the times when I hired her, she just immediately gave me shockwaves, which was really great. In the past, you needed to have the shocks already. And while the supply specialist was good to basically just give you unlimited shockwaves throughout the course of the game, kind of relied on you finding some initially. But with this supply specialist NPC, she can just kind of spawn shockwaves out of thin air. And then if you're holding those in the future, when it is time for her to resupply you, I'm pretty sure she'll just give you more. So I already touched on the fact that shockwaves are a problem for a lot of players. And if you find yourself in that boat, the Night Rose NPC at Demon's Dojo, I think, is going to be very, very high value for you. And then I feel like Demon's Dojo is also not a bad POI at all. Like, it's fine. It's typically not the most contested this season because it no longer has mythics. You're not super isolated, but it's also not a super hot POI. So I feel like Demon's Dojo is kind of like a nice middle ground, and it is decently small, so you can loot it pretty quickly. I think getting that supply specialist could be a big deal to a lot of players. Her room that she is in also has a ton of ammo boxes, and I've seen a lot of players say they're struggling to get ammo this season. So that could be another reason for you to land here. There is an absurd amount of ammo boxes in her room, and then she's also going to be able to resupply you over the course of the game if you are struggling for ammo. And so that's like a two birds with one stone type thing. You get your ammo, you get a lot of ammo from her room, you get shockwaves from her. I think she's very good and solves a lot of the problems that players are having this season. The next NPC is going to be the Kendo NPC. He is at Shogun Solitude, and he is the Recon Specialist NPC. And then he also sells a blue Sentinel pump if you're unable to find one. But again, if I was targeting, like, if I was going to purchase a weapon, I want it to be purple or better, and I can just get that at the black market every game. As a Recon Specialist, Kendo will scan the area, marking enemies and loot nearby. And he even marks sprites, which can be really helpful this season because, as I touched on, a lot of people are struggling with shockwaves. If you see an air sprite in your area and you're near one of the shrines, you could just put the air sprite into that shrine and get 4 guaranteed shockwaves. So having him also mark the sprites in the area, I think, is pretty beneficial, kind of more so this season than it would have been in past seasons, in my opinion. Like last season, I never really bothered that much putting the sprites into the shrines because there's so much mobility in the game. If I didn't get shockwaves, I was probably going to have a mask or a typhoon blade, or maybe even a kinetic blade. There was just so much mobility in the game last season that not having shockwaves wasn't as big of a deal. Whereas this season, that can be a pretty big problem to have. So having him just increase your awareness is always helpful. Like the scanner NPCs are always very, very good. I feel like I don't have to go into it too much. With snipers and mammoth pistols returning this season, those are both weapons that can deal a lot of damage within a very just nothing time frame. So having him scan the area, mark people, increase your awareness is definitely a good thing. And then Shogun Solitude is also pretty isolated, which in my opinion is pretty unfortunate. I don't really like having those slower games. But if you do want to have an easier start to the match, then landing here, you're typically not going to be very contested. There might be some people going here, but it's not one of the hotter POIs, especially this season with how many vaults there are around the map. I feel like this place it's definitely going to be pretty ignored. So you should have a more chill, easier start to the game. Get this scanner NPC, and then you can maybe, pull up and try to third party some of the more active POIs with your scanner NPC marking everybody, letting you know where they are. And while Shogun Solitude is pretty isolated from the rest of the map, there is the Brat NPC, which is right next to where Kendo is, and he actually does have a rift that you can buy from him. So you can use that rift to get more into the map and not have to worry about the fact that you're on the edge. You're not really going to get super far. It's not like you're going to get to Crime City with this very often, but you can get close enough to where you should have hopefully somewhat decent timing third partying that POI if that's something you wish to do. And then finally, the Jade NPC is at the Rainbow Field, and she is a medic specialist, meaning she will heal you with chug splashes every so often. This can obviously be pretty helpful at times, like maybe you can save some heals in situations where you would have had to use yours. Maybe she gets it off in a situation where you wouldn't have been able to heal yourself. But I don't think her healing is really that big of a deal. Like, it's not a massive game changer, and it's not like something that enables you to like forego carrying heals. At least in my opinion, I don't get this NPC and then feel like, okay, now I can just not carry heals and have that extra inventory slot. I don't think her healing is that good. So for me, this NPC doesn't really change too much about how I'm going to play the game or how I feel about the game. There's situations where it can be helpful, but I don't think it's like, so impactful that I would recommend consistently going for it. If you like getting her, that's fine, but I don't think she's as big of a deal as the other NPCs are, as much as Kendo or the supply specialist. I feel like Kendo, just a massive buff to your awareness and will help you throughout the course of the game. Then the supply specialist giving you basically unlimited shockwaves. That's also a huge change to how you can play the game. Whereas the Jade NPC, maybe sometimes she heals you and it's nice or it makes a difference, but I feel like most of the time it's not really going to matter that much, and that's why she isn't a super big deal to me. She also isn't very out of the way, so I mean, it's not the biggest deal. But those are the main specialist NPCs. There's currently no heavy specialist NPC. There is the Sub-Zero NPC that is kind of in between Flooded Frogs, or I guess in between Whiffy Wharf and Lone Wolf Lair. He's on a mountain, but he's just a regular NPC hire. He doesn't have any special ability. It's just like the damage he does, or maybe the distraction. And me personally, I've never really felt like the hired NPCs are actually that much of a threat or even that distracting to me as a player. The main benefit of the hired NPCs, I think, are the added abilities they have, like scanning, resupplying, or even healing. So the Sub-Zero NPC I don't think is a very big deal. And he doesn't sell the Sub-Zero gauntlets either. He's just a hired NPC that doesn't really do anything. There is no heavy specialist grenade NPC this season yet. They do tend to add or change up the NPCs over the course of the season, so maybe you'll see more later on. But those are the main three NPCs. Also, all of the NPCs in the black market should be able to sell you a rift. So if you are ever down in the black market and you know somebody is up top camping you, or maybe you hear a fight happening outside nearby, you could buy a rift from this NPC and then fly to where you need to go. But that isn't a situation I've encountered very much so far this season, but I definitely think as time goes on more, we're probably going to see more and more people just waiting out at those black market locations. And if you get stuck down there, that'd be pretty unfortunate. So the NPC being able to sell you a rift can be helpful in those situations. But that is going to be it for this video. As I said, there wasn't too many that are a big deal this season, just with how the game plays out this season. I feel like the NPCs aren't as big of a deal. Let me know down in the comments below which one you think is best or which one you're going to be going for, if any. And as always, if you did find this video to be helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.